Bible in my hand to sort of, like hold me down when I'm speaking at home as well as balance. Do all kinds of crazy stuff. So let me just say, this is amazing. To have all of you guys here tonight. David told you who I am. I am Michelle Scott-Huffman. I am married to this amazing woman, Stephanie Scott-Huffman. We were married in Connecticut, so we are legally married, and when the day comes that the state of Missouri has to recognize that, we'll be all ready. So we're excited about that. Just a little bit about who I am as far as the pastor of Table of Grace. One of the things that stuck with me when I was in seminary was I had a professor who was talking about different communities that have sort of a meta-narrative. And when I think of Jefferson City, I think of Jefferson City as one of those places where people look at us from the outside, and sometimes people even look at us from the inside, and they say, everybody there is the same. Everybody there is conservative. Everybody there thinks this way. Well, we know because of our own personal experience that that's not true. And we know because there were 92 people here tonight that that's not true. When you have a group of people who don't fit the meta-narrative, you have to form a community that will hold the counter-narrative. And that's what Table of Grace is. We're starting a church here that will be a part of the Christian Church Disciples of Christ, which is where the First Christian and Community Christian are. I'm ordained within that body, and so we're just here to open up a new place for people to come who have been pushed out and shut out and not invited, and just to say that this is a place where all those people are welcome. First of all, I have to say, I'm sorry. I stand here not just as a lesbian member of your community, but also as an ordained representative of the church, the community that has shut many of you out, the community that has condemned you to hell in this life and beyond. It's the organization that has, in the name of Jesus, oppressed, abused, enslaved, and even murdered those who they thought did not believe correctly. People who looked and acted differently. People who prayed differently and worshiped differently. They didn't fit, and they were expendable. So the church over the years has gotten rid of them. You have been victims of the longest lasting, most blatant perpetrator of hate crimes in the history of humanity. And I'm sorry. The pain that you have endured is real. It's valid. And you have every right to be angry and suspicious. But please know that the story that you've heard told most loudly about God, about Christianity, and about humanity from the church isn't the whole story. It is but one interpretation of just a little piece of the story. And there's another story to be told. And slowly but surely its storytellers are emerging. And you are those storytellers. And we're here to say you can't have Christianity. You can't have our God. You can't take what belongs to everyone and put it in your box and say, it's not yours. We are the people who are rising up to say, you can't do that. We're not going to let you. And we're going to start telling the rest of the story. People have a tendency to try to keep God locked up in a box. And it's time to start letting God out of that box. And if you don't think of it as God, I don't even begin to assume that everyone in this room is Christian or even cares to be Christian someday. But I think we all believe that there's something greater than ourselves. And that there are a lot of people who would put that something greater in a box and try to keep it away from us. And we're here to say that that's not going to happen. We are here, we are loved, and we are just as much the rightful owners of that great thing as anyone else. On this National Coming Out Day, I can't help but think of one of the most famous verses in the Bible, one of the shortest little quips that Jesus said that's easiest for us to remember. And it's when Lazarus has died and he's in the grave, and he comes to the sisters and he's talking to them. What does he say to Lazarus? Anyone?
Come out.
Come out. Jesus says, Lazarus, come out. So you might be wondering, was Lazarus gay? Well, think about this. Lazarus lived in a society where the most important thing was to be a husband to one woman, or possibly many women, and procreate, to make as many children as you could. And Lazarus was a single man living at home with his younger sisters. Was Lazarus gay? Maybe. But the important thing is not whether or not Lazarus was gay. The important thing was there was more life left to be lived. And Lazarus wasn't leading that life. Lazarus was laying dead in the tomb. And Jesus said, Lazarus, come out. What I do know about this situation is that Lazarus, in his tomb, was surrounded by the stench of death. And that many of us who are not living our lives in the way that we can live our lives, in the way that we're meant to live our lives, are in closets, surrounded by the stench of death. The stench of just letting the world go past us because we are afraid to live the lives that we're meant to live. So I think that the story of Lazarus is helpful for us in that way. I'm not just talking about closeted gay folks here. This is a question for all of us to consider. Are we, every one of us, are we sitting in some closet holding in our true convictions because we don't want to offend those who are around us? Or we don't want to rock the boat? Or we don't want to risk our livelihood? Now don't get me wrong, I know that there are situations, and they're represented right here in this room, where people really don't have a choice right now. But for those of us who do, are we really living authentically? Are we really living our true lives and being our true selves? My friends, you have been called into existence by a force much greater than yourself. And really, if you want to live up to your full potential, how else can you do that but to be true to yourself and to be true to those who are around you? How else can you contribute what you have to offer to the world if you don't show the world who you really are? Jesus said it in those two words, and we continue to say it today: come out. And just like Natalie said in the very beginning, you know at what level you're ready to come out, but all of us every day can take one step closer to living an authentic and true life. And in the story of Lazarus, when he came out of the tomb, Jesus said one more thing. He was all wrapped up in the death clothes. You know, he had this mummy look going on, and he walks out, and Jesus says to the people who are around, untie him and let him go. And that's what we're here for tonight. Because when people are called out of that closet and they step out, we as their community are the ones who loose them from the things that have tied them. We're the ones who take that wrapping off so that they can walk freely into the world that awaits them. So I say to you, if you are gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, queer, questioning, intersex, or an ally, come out. Maybe not publicly to the whole world, but maybe just sitting with one important person in your life who you've been afraid to tell. If you are a Christian or any other religion that has shut you out and your skin crawls when you hear people ostracizing and oppressing others and using God and the Bible to do it, come out. Make your voice heard. Enter the conversation and let people know that there is a story of love and grace and redemption to be told. If you are a parent of an LGBT person, if you're a parent of any child, regardless of their sexuality, youth or adult, come out. Come ones to see that child recognize his or her full potential. Help your child to be whole and authentic by offering your unconditional and undying love and support. If you are an employer and you don't know that your workplace is safe for all people, come out. Come out as an advocate for the rights and safety of all people regardless of race, creed, gender identity, sexual orientation, and differing ability. Come out as an employer who won't tolerate workplace discrimination. If you are a teacher or someone else who works with young people in the most formative years of their lives, come out. Come out as a cheerleader and a supporter of all that these young people are now and all that they are becoming. Help them to come of age in a world that is not excluding and heteronormative. Help them to embrace and celebrate their diversity and their gift of otherness. And for anyone who doesn't fit into any of those previous categories, come out. Come out as the open-minded, peace-creating, diversity-loving people that you are. Come out by training yourself to see that the two gay men and their adopted children are no different from your own family. Come out by listening to the story of your transgendered coworker and acknowledging the pain that she has experienced in her past life and celebrating the joy of her future. To all of you here who can take another step toward authenticity and inclusion tonight, tomorrow, next week, not just on National Coming Out Day, but every day, I urge you, come out.